A cabinet minister says government's current crime-fighting strategy should be tweaked. Nearly 1 month after student stabbing death, Doris Johnson High School now has a metal detector. A man and a woman appeared in the magistrate's court on murder charges. Plus, the deputy speaker of the House hits back at reports suggesting attempted suicide. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Tonight, on the heels of a busy weekend for police, where several people were shot, 2 of whom died, members of the Christie administration met in the cabinet office today. But while there's still no word on when government's new crime-fighting strategy will come along, or even what it entails, one cabinet minister says the current strategy needs to be tweaked. Meanwhile, a former deputy commissioner is calling for there to be a change in leadership altogether. Kyle Joaquin reports.
On the first working day of the new year, the government of the Bahamas met in the cabinet office to discuss several issues. But after a relatively bloody weekend here in the capital, we wanted to get a little more insight into the government's new crime-fighting strategy. State Minister for National Security Keith Bell didn't say much at all regarding the government's new crime-fighting strategy, which Prime Minister Perry Christie has only given very little detail about. And Bell only referred us to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, man.
I just wanted to know what's the latest on the government's new crime-fighting strategy.
Sorry, but you talk to the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security.
But when we reached out to the Prime Minister as he walked out of the cabinet office. Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister. Morning. Hi, Madam AG. Our presence wasn't even acknowledged. But Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe did speak with us and said, as is the case with many other strategies, the government's crime-fighting strategy needs to be tweaked.
I think any strategy requires continued tweaking. That's all strategies, whether it's in a ball game or in living or in crime. And I think that's what we must do, given the changes and things that are going on.
The first few days of 2016 have been marred with violence, with people being shot in 2s and 3s. On Sunday morning around 4, Michael D'Angelo Bethel, a well-known businessman and father of 3 young children, was shot along with his wife and 2 others as they came to a red light near Montague Beach. Bethel died not long after, but his wife was rushed into surgery. One of the other 2 people shot was an American. The tourism minister said he's concerned not just because an American was attacked, but by what the international community must think of the constant killings in the Bahamas, seeing that the country's main industry is still tourism.
And so when visitors come to our country, we have to ensure that they know they're in a safe environment, a hospitable environment. Anyone gets hurt, our people, anyone, it's too many people getting hurt. We have to ensure that individuals who are responsible for crime are paying the price, are literally sitting behind bars paying the price. They should not be on the streets.
But in the aftermath of the violent holiday weekend, former Deputy Commissioner of Police Quinn McCartney took to Facebook, once again calling for there to be some sort of change. In it, he said, I promise not to say too much this year, but it looks like 2016 is starting off much like 2015 ended, and therefore I feel compelled to say something brief right now. He continued saying, obviously what we are doing right now is not working. There is, in my humble opinion, a need for drastic changes to be made. Perhaps we should take our cues from sports teams. I am not a sports fanatic, but I do know that when a team continues to lose, sooner or later, there is a change in leadership. The manager/coach is fired. He ended the post by saying, think on these things. The Bahamas recorded a new murder record last year when 149 people were killed. And despite being only 4 days into the new year, 9 people have been shot, 2 of whom have died. Reporting for NB12. I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Nearly 1 month after a student of Doris Johnson High School was stabbed to death near the campus, school officials took a new route to ensure the safety of students and staff by installing a metal detector on the campus and hiring extra security. Simone Davis reports.
After a noticeably long line of students was seen waiting at a gate to enter the school premises, principal at Doris Johnson Senior High School James Clark explained that the death of 12th grade student Adonai Wilson late last year has forced school officials to strengthen their security measures around campus and become more proactive than they've been before. In addition to increasing security, school officials now carry out mandatory bag checks and scan students with a handheld metal detector.
Well, after the recent death of one of our students, we have decided the very first day just to search the students to see if they're going to continue to bring weapons on the compound. Right now in this country, we cannot take anything for granted. You have to be proactive. We will be doing this on a consistent basis from here on in, whether it be every day or every other day, but from here on in, trust me, we can be on top of the game. The criminals are winning, but not anymore. I think the table must turn now. We can become the winners.
Clark said although they've always been strict when it comes to violence on the school campus, he admitted that of the 850-plus students who attend that school, some students who participate in criminal acts still somehow fall through the cracks.
A criminal will always slip through the crack. You cannot outbeat them all the time. So you have to be proactive. I think from here on in, like I said, we'll be taking our precaution more serious than ever before.
Last year, Clark asserted that the school has had several instances involving students who have brought weapons on school grounds to assault other students.
It was shortly before our news team was asked to leave the premises that we noticed a newly installed metal detector that students were forced to walk through after getting their bags searched. It was then that we attempted to get footage of that new metal detector, but we were asked to leave the premises immediately.
A source working at the gate showed our news team photos of a weapon that was reportedly hidden in a geometry set in a student's bag that was confiscated during the search. Before that, Elaine Williams, who is the Northeastern District Officer in the Ministry of Education, said the school is working to ensure students and teachers' safety and to prevent weapons from being carried into the school without making students feel like criminals.
All of us, given the state of our country, need to be thinking about what we can do to improve not only security but even the mindset of students as they enter the school, trying to get them to understand what school is for, their improvement, to produce better persons for our country. And if we have to be overly concerned with just security, then when does learning take place? And so I am really very happy that the school is being proactive in trying to improve on a system that was already in place, because nothing that has happened so far is new.
There is at least one other school in New Providence that recently had a similar setup. However, we understand the ministry instructed that metal detector be removed from that school campus. We attempted to contact Education Director Lionel Sands to find out if the officials at Doris Johnson sought permission to install the metal detectors on campus, but he was said to be out of office. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
A 39-year-old man and a 43-year-old woman appeared in the magistrate's court today charged with murder. They appeared before Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt in connection with two separate incidents that occurred just before the new year. As 43-year-old Lynette Charlton of Redland Acres was led into the courthouse this morning, relatives of the deceased angrily called out to her. Charlton is charged with the December 27th murder of 47-year-old Wayne Seymour, who was shot and killed at Adelaide Road. According to police reports on the incident in question, a man was driving his Chevy truck on Adelaide Road, accompanied by a woman, when they got into an argument that led to him being shot. The woman then fled the scene in the victim's truck, but later turned herself in to police. Charlton was represented in court by attorney Rezard Humes, who claimed an unidentified police officer at CDU struck her in the head and she recently suffered an aneurysm. Charlton was not required to enter a plea to the charge, and the matter was adjourned to February 24th for presentation of a voluntary bill of indictment. Also appearing in court this morning, 39-year-old LeVar Newton of Seymour Street, Yellow Elder. He is charged with the December 29th stabbing death of D'Angelo Major. According to police reports, the incident took place shortly after 6:30 a.m. The victim had reportedly gotten into an altercation with a male relative that led to him being stabbed. The relative fled the scene on foot. Newton was not represented in court by an attorney and was also not required to enter a plea to the charge. He was remanded until his next court appearance on February 24th for service of a VBI. Legislation to govern national health insurance will be released for public and stakeholder comment before the end of the month. Government said in a statement Cabinet approved the draft legislation that would provide the foundation for NHI last week, and the legislation is undergoing final revisions. The statement said the government wishes to announce that the new program, NHI Bahamas, will make health care throughout our archipelago modern, affordable, and accessible. These are the values that are at the core of all planning and policy-making decisions regarding health care for Bahamians. It continued, the National Insurance Board has been busy preparing their systems to support registration for national health insurance. The registration process will begin later this month, and more details will be provided in the coming days. A NHI Bahamas website and other information sharing tools will be unveiled this month to ensure Bahamians have the information they need to understand what NHI Bahamas is, the values of the new system, and how it will work. You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There's more when NB12 returns.